Riyadh season continues today, or was back today. Some sick fights. A lot of times, it's Paulie Malignaggi, Paulie TV guys. Sorry, I'm still trying to get myself back in the habit of things. By the way, this is a bump from the stitches. I'm still dealing with these freaking stitches and all that whole way the medical system over there so I'm still laughing about this whole thing that I got to recover this way because of some amateurish situations, but whatever. I'll be back soon, and all this will hopefully clear up a little bit. I'm sure I'll still have these scars though. What can we do? But anyway, Paulie Malignaggi, Paulie TV, Riyadh season. We're back, and it's gonna be fun to watch the fights today. We got some. I gotta make sure I remember to mention all of them, right? Because we got Abdullah Mason and Sam Noakes. Noakes is a really hard, sturdy puncher. Really a big risk to Mason. Then there's Benavidez and Yarde. There's Bam Rodriguez. Who's Bam fighting actually? Martinez, I think is his name. Yeah. And then there's Norman and Haney. These cards are so stacked. I mean, they're say what you want about a reality season. At least the cards are always good, and sometimes there's so many good fights that I actually forget all of them. But anyway, so let's start with Abdullah Mason and Noakes. I think Noakes is a very dangerous puncher. Mason could be the future of boxing. For me, he's a total package as far as his boxing ability, the way he carries himself on the mic, in interviews, and poised, mature. Seems like he comes from a good family as far as his father's his trainer, and you can see his father's a good head on his shoulders, and really just pushes that forward to his son. And Mason really has a mature way about him in the ring, even when he's gotten reckless. And I know he's been down and stuff like that, and it makes you question his chin. And surely those questions are logistical, obviously logical, and that's why Noakes is a bit dangerous, right? But I'll tell you what, the way I've seen this fight playing out is Noakes really closes the gap in through the front door, not really very creative. When he gets to that close range, he's super dangerous. Hits very hard with both hands, and can be pretty devastating. But I've noticed that when he's had the success he's had, and he's undefeated, and he's just been able to walk straight in through the front door, and he's not really showing a lot of creativity in the way he closes the gap. And when certain guys give him a little bit of movement or a little bit of offsetting stuff to him, he looked up, I'd say totally uncomfortable because he hasn't been at that level yet, but he looked like he had to overthink a little bit as far as how to get things done. He knows what he's got to do as far as being able to get it done against a guy like Mason. That's where I start to see the cracks here. He's super dangerous punching wise, everything wise, and he's undefeated and he's hungry. But I think Mason, with that southpaw jab and his ability to catch you coming and just seeing a lot of things, offsetting a lot of things that about guys that will just press forward. I'm not sure Noakes is going to have a lot of answers as far as being able to close the gap on Mason and land that power. And Mason himself has some pretty good power, as well as sharp shots, shots you don't see coming. Shot selection is very impressive as well. And he's got a good jab, even as a southpaw. It's a really sharp jab. So although this could be really dangerous and really competitive on paper, and even possible upset if the shot lands, so to speak, I don't see that happening. I actually see Mason slowing Noakes down, and Noakes maybe having to go through a lot of leather to try to close that gap, and he may slow down in the second half of the fight, and there may be a chance for Mason to even get a stoppage. I expect it to probably go to distance, but because Noakes is tough, but I think Noakes, and listen, I could be way off here. Noakes will land a big shot and knock him out. I'm just saying that I see Mason as a guy who's going to break Noakes down. And I think Noakes will be much less dangerous in the second half of the fight because he'll be broken down. If this is the mature, poised Abdullah Mason that we've all come to expect to see, and he continues to rise to the occasion the way he has. With Bam and Martinez, Bam is the stronger puncher, the sharper guy. The guy he's fighting he always comes to fight, but he's not that much of a puncher, but he loves to fight. He wants to fight. So I think it's going to be a fun fight, but I just think it's going to turn into a beating at a certain point. Kind of like, I guess, Abdullah and Noakes could turn into in the second half of the fight. Although I do see Bam probably stopping this guy because this guy's just not strong enough at the end. He's going to fight with Bam, and Bam will oblige you, and Bam will be the sharper puncher, the harder puncher, and the better combination puncher, the shorter puncher, and overall, it'll go from a good fight into a fight that probably needs to be stopped, I think. And Bam continues to impress. With Yarde and Benavidez, listen, Benavidez hasn't been as strong at light heavyweight. He hasn't seemed as strong, and I probably because he's not. And Yarde is very dangerous, and Yarde is a strong puncher. So I think Yarde could, pose some problems early, resistance-wise. But Yarde's issue has been he's a bit of a front runner. And Benavidez tends to bring a quick, fast pace, a pace that makes you really uncomfortable. And I think that could be the undoing in the second half of that fight as well. Is Benavidez, his pace and his wind eventually, bringing out the front runner-ness, if that's a word, of Yarde. After Yarde is dangerous, and Yarde could land some good shots. You can even see Benavidez go down. Who knows? Benavidez has been down against Gavril. Benavidez... He's got underrated defense, I think, but sometimes he does get hit clean, and especially when he's going for the knockout. And I think Benavidez has a bit of a chip on his shoulder here because he wants to show that he's a strong light heavyweight and he's not just, losing power at light heavyweight because these guys have gone the distance with him. Morrell has and Bosdick has as well. But I think he may want to prove a point with Yarde, and Yarde will give him a chance to prove that point because Yarde will oblige you. Yarde will fight you. Yarde can fight. He can box and all that other stuff, but Yarde also has that mentality where he wants to make it tough on you and he'll fight you and put hands on you. And he's not scared to go to the gutter, as we saw even in the Beterbiev fight, where he was doing really well against Beterbiev before he got stopped. And that's ultimately, I think, here what I see with Benavidez. He may get stopped late, or he could start to slide late in the fight and maybe lose on points because he gives away. The fight becomes less competitive in the second half of the fight. And I can see Benavidez started taking it away in the second half of the fight, or even getting that late stoppage if Yarde is starting to lose wind a lot in that second half of the fight. We'll see. Moving on to Norman and Haney, bro. Norman and Haney is really tough to call here, bro. I mean, this is one of those fights that you flip a coin and you see what you're going to get. Because I don't know the psychology of Haney here, I don't know. The J.C. Ramirez fight gives me a bit of trepidation with Haney's confidence after the Ryan Garcia fight. Regardless of the fact that Garcia was doped up and all that other stuff, the PTSD can be real sometimes. And sometimes you're a little bit shell-shocked from, taking some punches and you don't want to, maybe you're not as brave as you may have been before after going through something like that, or at least you have some doubts in your mind about your ability to take a punch like you did before. That's kind of how I saw Haney fighting J.C. Ramirez. He won the fight easy. He's got a lot of ability, but he can't get away with doing that with Norman. Now, the question is, will he do that? Because if he does, I don't think he can win. I don't think he can outbox Norman like that, because Norman has a lot of good technical boxing as well. But if he doesn't do that, does he have the confidence to box in a normal way again without getting himself caught again? And what happens if he does? Because Norman is a legitimate welterweight, a strong welterweight, a bona fide welterweight. Norman, on the other hand, there's the doubts on his side too. It's not like just with Haney that you got to think about. With Norman, listen, the Santillan fight was impressive, but he was supposed to lose that fight. Since then, he's made two defenses against guys that I wasn't really super impressed with the level of opposition of his two defenses after he won the title in the Santillan fight. I don't knock it because he was the youngest world champion in the world, so I wasn't knocking it. But I also start to wonder if that inconsistency on the part of Norman is still there, because earlier in his career he was inconsistent. He could show you the goods, and sometimes you'd fight and you'd be like, I don't know what kind of future this guy has. So is that inconsistency still there? Because now he's stepping back up to a certain level. There's questions about both guys. The natural welterweight is Norman. The stronger guy is Norman. Haney may be the better boxer if he's confident, but Norman can also box. Listen, this is a tough one here. I'll tell you what I see. I see this fight as a definitive distance fight. Though Norman could get a stoppage, I see it as a distance fight. And I see if Haney's sharp, he can win a close decision. But at the same time, it could also go to distance in a way where Norman hurts Haney a couple times and drops him, and Haney is, Haney's tough, so he can still kind of survive and go to distance. And if it goes distance in that way, then Norman wins the fight. Tough one to call. I'm not going to call it, guys. I don't know. I see it going the distance, and I see it really competitive. The odds also say that as well. By the way, speaking of odds, check out my other podcast with Tommy Reynolds, and we talk about the gambling side of boxing. It's Tommy and Paulie's Big Fight Forecast. Check us out on YouTube and on Instagram at Big Fight Forecast. And we talk about all the betting options with the fights and whatnot, and just our take on that stuff. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the fights today. Well, I'll check in with you later. I got to work BKB tonight, which is actually the promotion that I fought with last month. It's their next show. They're down here in Florida, so I may not be able to catch the main event, but I'll hope to catch it later. I'll try to make a video for you. And that's it, man. And keep me posted in the comments, man. Let me know what you think of the predictions. Let me know what you think of the fights. And you know what? Like I said, I'll be working BKBs. Like, let me know what's happening with later fights. Probably the main, because I may miss the main event, or maybe even the co-main event of the Saudi card. I'm Paulie Malignaggi. This is Paulie TV.